Welcome to the 170th episode of News Dump, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news scene and discuss. It is a new year, and we're doing things a little bit differently on Ye Old Podcast.
The big rebrand.
The big rebrand, as everybody knows, especially if you follow the Chronicle on Facebook. Isabel and Jared have absconded to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital.
I think the term's eloped. They eloped there.
New opportunities and adventures, and we wish them the best. However, that has left a big bit of airtime to fill on this here podcast. And so we're doing a little experimenting. We're branching out. You know, we're trying to have a guest on more often. And so in addition to our two regular hosts, myself and Eric Schwartz, starting the new year off
and
with
your
an
email sound. It's always nice.
Let me close out of that. First up, this week, our guest is Mitchell Roland. Mitchell, you are a reporter.
I am. I've been at the Chronicle since August, so about 5 months now. So I've been doing a bunch of different things. So I'm the county reporter, the legislative reporter, and then just a bunch of other South County beat type stuff.
Mitchell knows this, but I love Mitchell. Mitchell's great, and don't want to jinx it, so you can hold your ears, Mitchell. But he's dealing right now, and he's got a sweep of the front page for the week, both the Tuesday and Thursday editions, all Mitchell. And you know, heading into this historic Saturday, he's going to be covering some legislative preview action tomorrow, right?
8:30 tomorrow morning at the state capitol,
and then Senator Patty Murray is in town later in the day, right?
That actually is not public yet.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have a special guest tomorrow afternoon.
Senator Patty Murray is not coming to the area tomorrow. I misspoke, so.
Okay, well,
but don't
stay
be surprised
tuned
if she
in
does.
case you look outside and there's Patty Murray in her tennis shoes. A few other housekeeping things. We are going to be publishing News Dump episodes more consistently. In the past, it's been maybe an episode Monday, maybe an episode Thursday, usually an episode Tuesday. This year, our goal is to publish episodes Wednesday nights by 7 o'clock, so you can listen Wednesday evening or you can fire them up Thursday morning. But we just want to be something you can rely on for some calm, consistent information on what's going on in the county and no shenanigans.
Does the rebrand include your resolution to no longer swear on the podcast?
Why are you here?
Oh, God.
No, it does not. We're not. Let's not get carried away with resolutions and things like
I don't
that.
know. I'm just hearing a lot of complaints from the listeners.
No.
A lot.
You've heard one
A
complaint
lot.
from
I've heard two.
some handsome fella.
Yeah, well, there's two so far.
Anyway, I'm not sure if any of our listeners are dedicated enough to care about when it goes up, but you know, if we do have some listeners like that, hopefully this will be a nice olive branch for all the times it didn't show up until, you know, Thursday afternoon or we forgot to post it or whatever. But back to the guests. Yeah, Mitchell's here this week. We're going to try to bring in at least one Chronicle-centric guest, main cast guest a month, and then at least one outside of the newspaper guest a month. So we got a few ideas lined up for that. And if you have somebody you think we should invite onto the podcast to discuss local issues and the like, you can now email us at chroniclenewsdump@gmail.com.
Wow.
Yeah, I set that up
This is big.
just for anybody to drop us a line. You know, don't send us any nasty messages.
No nudes.
No. That's where your head went? Pervert. Anyway, yeah, that's our housekeeping stuff.
No, there's one more, and it's the most exciting housekeeping option.
Oh, you're very thrilled about this.
I think we are. I mean, this is something we've dreamed about since we were little girls.
Let me preface this, lead into this by saying we are joined, as always, in spirit by sponsors Summit Funding, The Roof Doctor, and...
I can't even believe I'm saying it.
It's a big get.
It's a big get. I think a lot of people have been saying that it would never happen for us. Mm-hmm. But today I'm proud to announce that Chehalis Outfitters is the latest sponsor for the Chronicle News Dump.
Huge get for News Dump.
I mean, I can't believe it. I had to call Brian Watson immediately just to make sure he didn't mistype the letter. But the text. I'm ad-libbing here. I've got nothing.
He meant to send to the sports
Chehalis
stuff.
Outfitters has their New Year's sale going on now through January 10th. some of these deals are so incredible that I don't know how they're keeping the doors open over there with these margins in this economy. I don't understand how they're doing it. It's 20% off cat free country products. There's a whole flyer. Go to their Facebook page, like them, follow them. They take out lots of ads in the Chronicle as well, so there's a safe bet that you get a subscription, you'll know about all of the deals as well.
Yeah, Shields Outfitters, formerly Sunbirds for Lewis County old timers. They've been there forever. Great company, and I was just in there this weekend. I bought a Discover Pass.
Oh, really?
Do some exploring, some hiking,
I've been meaning to get in there and get some like clam digging gear because I want to go clam digging at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe a gun. I don't know.
A clam gun, you mean? Or just a gun?
Oh, no, just a gun. I was thinking. They have guns now.
Hey, Chad's got one you could borrow. You can test it out.
That's true.
Probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
As many as you can fit in your pockets is his limit.
That's a great deal.
All right. Shall we get into the news?
I guess we could.
No further preambles, no tire piles have popped up, anything like that?
I don't think so.
All right. Yeah. Oh, and yes, by all means, if you have a great picture of a tire pile just looking thick, email it to chroniclenewsdump@gmail.com. First news item. Oh, boy. Officials meet with mineral residents after judge rules against Lewis County's YMCA decision. The long-running YMCA saga has hit its latest, benchmark. Anyway, the judge's ruling was that the county commissioners must approve the YMCA's rezone for a youth camp. And, one county commissioner, Scott Brummer, drew the short straw, had to go out to Mineral, along with Deputy Prosecutor Barb Russell and Senior Long-Range Planner Mindy Brooks, to discuss this development with the community. And, I don't know. I read this story and was, amused would be a good way to put it.
There were some interesting quotes in there, and this is a Mitchell job. Thanks for going out to Mineral. Did you enjoy Mineral, by the way?
I got lost.
In Mineral.
There's 2 streets, and I made the wrong turn and had to call Commissioner Brummer for how to actually get to the, I believe it was at the American Legion. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good looking out from the commissioner, though, to at least answer his phone and get you there.
Yeah, that was nice of him.
So the gist of this is that the county didn't have any legal basis for rejecting the zoning request, and then was brought into play, I think specifically Commissioner Sean Swope's comments that he made at one of the hearings, where he had questioned the YMCA about, defunding the police, gender reassignment, surgery for minors, critical race theory, and things like that. And I guess the ruling was that none of that really should have factored into this whatsoever. And so now they're going to have to approve it, right?
So the rezone is a very narrow scope. There's very narrow reasons you can reject a rezone. And one of the things that the commissioner or that the judge ruled was that the commissioners had considered factors that would be potentially mitigated in future steps. So the sound, the noise, the potential for wildlife impact, all of that would come later. What commissioners had to determine was whether that specific property owned by the YMCA could be rezoned.
So they were supposed to discuss whether it could be rezoned, and rather than do that, they went several steps further.
Not necessarily several steps further. Gender affirming care, the discussion over the curriculum of the YMCA is completely irrelevant in the process altogether. Those are factors that will never be considered, or the court has said should not be considered in this process. Mm-hmm. Instead, they would have to point out a specific factor that could be impacted, that could negatively impact that community. So there's the potential for an amphitheater on the property.
Yeah.
How would the sound of that be mitigated? That's something that could actually be considered by the commissioners in a future step by the and would need to be addressed. But the curriculum, the organization of the YMCA itself should not be considered in this process. It could be whichever organization proposes this summer camp. That's irrelevant.
And this step, I think the Superior Court judge, you have your quote in the lead, said that ruled that impermissible racial animus, bias, and infringement of the YMCA's protected free speech rights illegally factored in. I think that sums it up pretty well.
I was led to believe our county commissioners were champions for all of the amendments, particularly the one about free speech. They've had several hearings about it. They've gone on and on about how free speech is so important to them, unless somebody else wants to do a free speech.
It's called being a politician, Aaron. That's what Brummer said.
Yeah, let's get to some of Brummer's key quotes, and also like, were all of the commissioners invited out there? Because I feel like one of them more than the others should have been out there, or is it just that it's his area?
It's his district.
Yeah.
It's District 3. And then also, I think Mitchell pointed out, another commissioner would have made a quorum. I don't know if that would have presented issues, considering how swiftly this meeting was called. The ruling just came down in late December, so it's not like this has been on the books for a long time. But Brummer said it's called being a politician, and this came following questions of whether or not Swope got some counsel before he made those comments at the meeting. So Brummer says it's called being a politician. Sometimes you open your mouth and overload your rear end. There are times when we do that. I'm not throwing any commissioners under the bus here, but in those discussions, it's all public record. Anything you say can and will be used against you, and I thought that was a pretty strong quote.
It's a pretty strong quote, and also it's acting like he was under oath or being arrested or something like that. When you throw the "can and will be used against you" in there, like it sounds like he's under some duress making these statements and not coming out of pocket.
I think he's talking about the meeting where Swope made those comments. He's talking about it in a situation like that in a public hearing. Everything is on the public record, and if there is an appeal, it'll be used against you. I think that's what he means.
Okay. Brummer also said, "We learn from our mistakes. I do believe that we've learned," he said. "But you know what? These commissioner seats change. They're up every 4 years. So the future commissioner coming in may make the same mistake again. So unfortunately, there's no way to prevent that." Again, no way to prevent this. Are you sure? I feel like there's a way to prevent it. It's really easy. You literally just have to do nothing. You just have to shut the hell up. And it would have been prevented.
Okay.
And his his comment about a future commissioner coming in, like I read this and probably incorrectly, with the intonation of like, "Hey, look, we could get somebody that's even worse in the future."
I mean, I think what he says is accurate. The commissioners in Lewis County seemed like they cycle out quicker than a lot of other positions. I don't know if that's accurate, but it does feel that way. Like they get a completely new board. So I don't know. I think what he said is practically correct.
I also like the line about Russell saying she believes Swope sought to voice the concerns of his constituents, even though it quote, wasn't legally okay, which is another way of saying was illegal.
I think the backdrop to remember here is while there are some people in the Mineral area that don't mind this camp and maybe even welcome the camp, there is a large contingent of people there who don't. Mm-hmm. So if you're a politician and you're hearing from your constituents that, hey, I want you to do something about this, that might drive you as a politician to go to a meeting and point out some perceived problems that you have with the organization. It does seem like it could have been done at a different time in a different venue in a different place, but I mean, what's the practical effect of this? It just delayed what would have happened, right?
I feel like if they wouldn't have thrown any of the Swope comments in there, then maybe the appeal process would have taken a lot longer. The deliberations would have taken a lot longer. Like, I feel like there was a path there where legally maybe they could have prevented it coming in, and by throwing all the extra crap on the wall, they just made it kind of a slam dunk case for an appeal.
Yeah,
but I'm not a legal expert. So what would I know?
The next stop is a binding site plan for the project, according to Mitchell's reporting, and I think there'll be more opportunities for the county to weigh in on various aspects of it.
There'll be plenty of opportunities for the residents in the area to voice concerns. The county will hold a public hearing on formally approving the rezone on January 16th. Since they are bound by the court ruling, there will be no public testimony during that hearing. But once that is approved, then the ball's really in the YMCA's court, and from there they can submit a binding plan for the site and just continue forward with the process.
Hear that, Aaron? You're going to be able to rant about this in perpetuity.
I mean, yeah, Brummer's last quote here, the court ruling does not give the YMCA a blank check to just come in and build whatever they decide to build. There's still a process, which is like, we may have lost this round, but we'll be waiting to screw things up again the next time we have a chance.
Again, they're responding to the desires of their constituents. I don't know that there's a whole lot of politicians that would do different, than to try to advocate for the people who already live in Mineral that don't want it to happen.
I mean, you could have advocated better where you achieved your goal and their goals.
No, it's true, but I think that what he's saying is that, I don't know.
I think even at this meeting, to a certain extent, Brummer and Mindy Brooks had to be somewhat guarded, or at least somewhat careful of what they said. This was brought up by one of the attendees, and though it didn't make into the story, that whether this could raise the potential for future litigation should the county be especially harsh or especially critical of one of the aspects of the project, that this now demonstrates at least somewhat of a history of animus towards the YMCA. So that now that this has already happened in the early stages, I think whoever from the county speaks on this project is going to be somewhat guarded or somewhat careful about their exact words and how they phrase their concerns over the project.
Yeah, they're already on Santa's naughty list, basically.
Careful with their words. It's something you could learn from, Aaron.
I know. If I say something terrible on this podcast, the YMCA is going to come build a camp in my yard. Oh, no.
You would hate that.
I would.
You'd be on your hands and knees begging Swope to advocate for you if that happened. Just begging.
I would. I can't wait till the
My
YMCA.
precious short line.
I can't wait until the YMCA builds the Schwartz Swope Memorial Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at their new camp.
That would be rough.
Yeah, that would be. Anyway, in other news, Mitchell, you went kayaking, and that was a lead story?
It was a surprise to us all.
Really?
It was a triumph.
Where did you go?
The human spirit.
Where did you go kayaking? You know, Chronicle reporters and kayaking don't historically mix all that well.
And my apologies if I mispronounced this state park, but Aikiwatsana? Kinswa State Park.
Mm-hmm. Out in Toledo.
No.
Isn't it?
No, Mayfield Lake.
Oh, that's right.
So it's a part of Washington State Park's Free Hikes Day, and it really encourages people to go out, experience nature. They waive the charge for entry, and it's just trying to encourage more people to actually visit the state parks, reduce that barrier of entry. There's 12 of them sprinkled throughout the year, so there's 11 more coming up. But yeah, at Kinswa State Park, they organized a guided kayaking tour of the lake. As someone who's only lived here for around 5 months, it was very interesting to get more deep knowledge of just the history of the area. I didn't know that was a man-made lake and that there was once a town in that area that's now submerged into the water. So
there's a few of those. There's also Cosmos under Rife Lake and Rife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It feels about once a week or so, somebody will mention a town in Lewis County I'm just learning about for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a map for that. I should print that off for you. Isabel, before she left, made a map of all the various unincorporated towns. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I was impressed that they brought all the kayaks and all the vests, so you just showed up and they outfitted you for the most part.
So they outfitted people who were more novice. Some of the more expert kayakers brought their own kayaks, brought their own gear. But since it was really encouraging anyone who wanted to go out and experience nature, they brought anyone who needed a kayak, they brought them a kayak. Anyone who needed a life vest, you actually got to keep the life vest. So just trying to encourage water safety for the remainder of the year.
And no one went into the drink while you were out there?
No.
Nobody just plummeted into the lake straight out of their kayak with all their belongings floating away?
The water, for the most part, was probably 3 or 4 feet deep.
I don't know that makes a difference.
There's tiger muskies in there, though. You got to watch out for those.
Yeah.
Fanged fish. Mm-hmm. Mitchell's looking at me like he doesn't believe me.
Oh, yeah, there are. They're evil. Bite a toe off.
I don't think I've ever heard a report of them biting anyone, but I'm sure it's
Tiger
happened.
muskie?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about the baby? No, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Our next item, Meet Mabel, first baby of 2024 at Providence Centralia Hospital. Did you guys go meet Mabel?
No, since the pandemic started, we don't go there anymore. Chris Thomas, former Chronicle editor and
friend of the pod, I'm sure.
Providence man. I believe he was on the all-area source team just late last year. He coordinated it for us and made sure that it was sent over, and so now we just get photos provided. But yeah, Mabel Lee Fleming of Morton, 6 pounds, 13.4 ounces. It's the first baby of the year. People love the first baby of the year.
Yeah, they're always happy to see it.
I've never really been able to put my finger on why, but it's an extremely popular thing. And then one year we didn't have one for a few days just because no one had a baby. It was one of those times, and I got emails. People wanted to know.
Where's the baby, Schwartz?
They wanted to know. We also had the Thurston County first baby of the year. I'm looking it up now. Mm-hmm. You're just going to leave dead air hanging while I search here?
Yeah, kind of. I'm sure you'll find it.
Freya Jean Meisling. That was the first baby of the year in Thurston County.
Okay.
That one was 7 pounds, 14 ounces, so a bigger baby.
That's...
I'm just doing the analysis here. Just a little color commentary for you.
All right. Do you want to discuss babies at all?
No, not really.
All right.
Why would I want to discuss babies, Aaron?
You just never know.
I have a baby coming of my own, but he will not be the first baby of the year, so I'm a little bitter about it.
Do you think you will be the largest baby of the year?
It's very possible.
It's looking that way.
The chunky baby.
Next news item, 20th District legislators likely to focus again on education and parental rights. I read this, ready to be outraged by the actions of John Braun, Ed Orcutt, and Peter Abarno. And I found most of their, what do you call these points? Mm-hmm. Pretty reasonable. Not bad.
Do you know those three men to be radical in any way?
No, they always have been rather, they're not Jim Walsh's or anything. They're rational fellas, normal dudes.
No, they're not from the 19th district. They're from the 20th district. What does that mean, Aaron?
I don't know.
I'm just trying to get you to dig a hole. I wanted you to insult Peter Abarno at some point.
No.
So this was the third and final story in Mitchell's series after the trio made a visit with the editorial board. I thought you did a good job on it. And then tell us about the session, Mitchell. That starts up next week?
It starts next week. There's a pre-session briefing tomorrow morning where we'll get updates on the budget, get an update from Governor Inslee during his final session, his 12th and final, as well as Senator Braun, the Senate Majority Leader, as well as representatives from the House. So on this story in particular, as a former education reporter, obviously there's still a lot of effects from the pandemic that are impacting education. When you go remote or you go hybrid for a year or two, and then you shift back to remote or in-person learning, there's the effects of learning loss. There's the effects of mental health was a big thing that a lot of students experienced. So just dealing with those particular effects, I think will continue to be a priority. Education and just parental rights in general and family has become a hot topic in recent years. This is a shorter session, so it's a 60-day session rather than a 105-day session. The legislature will pass a supplemental budget, but it's not going to be a big budget year. So there's very limited time. There's very limited ability for the legislators to actually pass broad, wide-ranging legislation. It's more so those smaller bills, those fixes to items rather than big sweeping proposals.
You mentioned it will be Governor Inslee's last session, last year in office. Schwartz, are you going to be there on his last day cheering him out?
No, I'm not an anti-anybody guy.
Be like, get the hell out.
I've never ranted. We'll be going to the governor's mansion for newspaper day at I think February 9th or sometime in February.
Oh, wow. Must be very exciting for you.
I'll make
my
city. Once annual Eastern Washington comment to him because I believe he has a nephew that went there. And then he'll make the same comment he makes every time I do, which is to tell me that his nephew went there.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great.
Right. It's an annual rite of passage.
You guys have good banter together.
I might mix it up this year. I don't know. We'll see. I did I think we talked about it last week, but Braun's comment, he kind of thinking that the Democrats kind of want to get in and out without making too much of a splash in this session. Speaking to some of I think police forum was one of them, but some of certainly the Climate Act, but some of the legislations they've passed that has had what he would perceive as negative outcomes. A lot of the stuff that Let's Go Washington has filed signatures on for the initiative process. So I'm interested to see if that happens, you never really know.
And I think that'll be a big thing once we see how many of those initiatives to the legislature are certified and actually sent to a legislator. At that point, there's only three options. They can either pass them as filed, they can send them directly to voters, or they could pass an alternative, which would also appear on the November 2024 ballot 2024 voters. With the gubernatorial seat up for grabs, I believe there's a Senate seats in both House and Senate. That there's going to be plenty on the 2024 budget that's going to be of high interest, or on the 2024 ballot that's going to be of high interest.
All right. Next two items are fairly short. First off, Winlock School Board is nearing the end of its search for a new superintendent and looking for community input on the candidates. They've had Bob Garrett, former Wahkiakum guy, as an interim superintendent for a while. They are having interviews and a chance for the public to meet the finalists on January 11th, and I think they were looking for questions to ask their finalists. They're very excited about their two finalists. Didn't name them in the press release.
They weren't named in the press release, yeah.
Just throw the names out there. Let people Google them.
Go to the meeting. If you go to the meeting, you'll find out. And to their credit, we could have followed up. We just processed the release. I'm sure we could have got the names. But.
Yeah. And then the other one, Lewis County PUD encourages the public to engage with their general manager. They've got 4 meetings set up, and they're like, hey, come ask him some candid questions. And this is like the civic version of your parents asking you to take your little brother out when you go do something fun.
I thought it was cool. And I also like that it's 3 hours of availability. That's a lot for a public official or, not an elected official or anything, but to just open yourself up. So 16 total hours of anyone from Lewis County can come yell at you about anything they want. When
it's just like sit and shiva, kind of.
No one's happy with paying, bills, no matter how expensive they are. We did cover this one today. We sent Owen Sexton over there, so we'll see how that turned out in Saturday's
Owen's
edition.
questions like, why is my bill so high?
He just went over there to shout to. One of the persistent issues is the smart meters that the PUD is having installed. There's a contingent of folks that do not like that idea, and there's meters that report the data on used electricity and such back to the PUD directly. I've seen everything from that it's a fire hazard to it's a carcinogen.
Lots of chemtrails worked
stuff,
in there.
but I haven't seen anything that seems to validate those concerns. But I'm sure he heard questions about it, and I'm sure that'll be in the story.
You know what could take down your electric bills?
A good new roof?
A new roof. And if you need a new roof, visit our friends at The Roof Doctor. Available online at theroofdoctor.com, where they will ask you, is your roof under the weather? The Roof Doctor in Chehalis awaits your house calls. They're a family-owned business since 1959, serving Lewis County with tons of great reviews. They provide new roofing and re-roofing, roof repair, roof cleaning, and emergency roofing. You ever had a need for an emergency roof? Either of you guys?
No, but if I did, I'd call the Roof Doctor and get me one of those free estimates.
You could call them toll-free. Actually, this might not be toll-free. I don't know. Does that really matter anymore? I think all calls are toll-free now. 360-800-8755. The 800 threw me off.
If you're not calling from a landline, I guess.
Well, if you're calling locally, then it's 360-736-0246. Mm-hmm. The Roof Doctor. And they always offer a free estimate. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with segments.
Hi, this is Jeff and Julie from Fairway Lanes.
Jeff and I met JSIC of Summit Funding at our bowling center, so when we fell in love with this community and it was time to relocate, we knew we would be calling Summit Funding.
They understand that everyone has a unique situation when buying a home.
He had already helped 2 of our employees get into their own homes. The Summit Funding team exceeded our expectations. It was a seamless experience with great communication from his whole team.
Thank you to Summit Funding for making our buying experience special and memorable.
All right, we're back from break. It's time for segments. And first up, as always, is Tales from the Takes page, which for any new listeners who are picking up a new hobby in the new year to listen to the worst podcast in Lewis County, it's just where we run through what's on the opinion page. So, Schwartz, what is on the opinion page?
Well, I'd say the most popular opinion page item this week has been from columnist Julie McDonald, who wrote, birthday of Upper Cowlitz native Mary Keona provides opportunity to examine her legacy. She went long. It was a full pager in the opinion section. Every once in a while, Julie will do that, and I love it when she does because it's really thorough and well done. So let's see. She wrote that January 3rd marks a birthday celebration, the date when well-known Upper Cowlitz woman was born beside the banks of the Cowlitz River near present-day Randall about 170 years ago. Official Yakima records say Mary Keona was born at Silverbrook on January 3rd, 1855. Other accounts have that year as 1849. 1852 and 1853. And then she writes that whatever the year of her birth, Mary was old enough to remember lying on a hill and watching the first white people in covered wagons travel into the valley. Her uncle, Jim Yoke, described them as ghosts with beards. She lived to be 107, 115, 117, or 121, depending on which source you use. And then just some really, really cool history. She wrote about other Native American women as well as part of a sidebar. And it sounds like this is what we're going to be in for next week with Julie, too, because it's part of a series.
Okay. What else do we got?
It was really well done. Great job. Tomorrow's edition, we got Peter Abarno, State Rep Peter Abarno, writing in favor of the Centralia school levy, which will be back on the ballot in February after failing again. We've got John McCroskey. I'll just give you the headline so I don't enrage Aaron. It seems language has been one of the casualties of the last year. And
can I just read the opening line?
You're welcome to.
I, for one, am not really sorry to see 2023 go. Yeah, well, it won't be sorry to see you go either,
Oh,
McCroskey.
come on. How do you choose your tones, by the way?
How does he choose his tones? They're in print. Nobody can tell.
When you're reading someone's quotes, it's always just like, I don't know, you're like Mark Hamill as the Joker.
He just goes through some words he doesn't like and applies them to anything he can relate to Democrats. He talks about the southern border as closed. When was the last time McCroskey was at the southern border?
Remember when I said I was just going to read the headline so you didn't get too worked up?
I got places to be.
Who are you going to replace Christian McCaffrey with? Your fantasy football meeting?
We don't know yet.
Okay. Best letter of the week, or the one I thought was best anyways, was just simply titled Turn Your Lights On. It was by Judy Fink in Centralia, and her mother died in a crash, and she wonders if it might have been because the other vehicle didn't have their lights on, and just implores everyone to just turn your lights on. And you know what? I see people doing that on Pearl Street all the time. It's like you won't even see them coming, and it's just, I don't even understand how you'd have to be told that.
As you know, I'm occasionally a pedestrian, and when I'm running on foggy days and cars are coming and they don't have their lights on, I will do the flashing sign with my hands. They just look at me like I'm crazy, like I'm the asshole.
Well, I mean, you do look kind of like crazy when you're doing that.
Well, it's kind of like a jazz hands thing, but I think they'd pick up on it. Turn around and moon them, flash them, get the message across.
The last call, you've called me a pervert twice. There's a one pervert quota per episode.
That's not true at all.
Brian Mitke's column, It's Time for Some Good News, which is the most Brian Mitke headline of all time. It's a really good column.
Mickey back in his bag.
Just writing about the fact he's had several people approach him. I'm sure he's a former newspaper editor, so I think people know he's affiliated. Anyways, asking, isn't there anything good happening in the world? And so he breaks down some good things that are happening and also announces his new newsletter, which is just links to positive news. And I've received the first couple, and it was good. It was very warmly received online. Not just local stories. He did have a few Chronicle stories on there, but then he'll throw in some regional ones as well, some national, some international. Oh. So go check out Brian Mitke's column if you want to sign up for it. There's a link on there to do just that.
Sirens Banger of the Week. I don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't really have one either. I don't think we should be celebrating crime, Aaron.
Yeah, just visit cronline.com and click anything with a mugshot, and you will get something gross.
There was one in today's Sirens that surprised me, and I actually did a screen grab of it off the press log. It's not a banger of the week. It's just more of I can't believe this is where we're at. There was a 47-year-old Yelm man. It's referred to the Lewis County Prosecutor's Office after he was found with a quarter pound of meth and $2,600 in cash over by the outlets. When an officer contacted him, he saw the methamphetamine in the vehicle near the driver. The driver placed the vehicle in gear and began to back up and attempt to flee and hit another car. So you can have a quarter pound of meth, $2,600, try to flee a traffic stop and hit another car. The man was not booked into the Lewis County Jail due to booking restrictions. He'll get a summons.
Huh?
Yeah, just weird to me.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about the staffing over there and that being the main issue, but it seems like a person like that should go to jail. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they have like a jail inmate power rankings every day, and whoever's at the bottom of the list, somebody better comes in, they replace them like a waiver wire for criminals.
It's not really a bad idea.
Yeah,
You have an advisory committee over there, Lewis County Jail Advisory Committee.
Mm-hmm.
They rank them every morning.
Well, it's an inmate seating committee, really.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. People's Champions of the Week. PL surprises beloved UPS driver with flag flown over the U.S. Capitol. UPS Kevin just keeps on winning.
This would be his back-to-back years for Kevin being Hero of the Week because he won it last time as well.
Yeah, he did. The
most shocking thing from this story, which was by Mitchell, was to me the most shocking that there can be 100,000 flags that were technically flown above the Capitol each year, and there's someone whose job it is to raise the flag and then bring it back down every 30 seconds. And
the U.S. Capitol?
Yeah, it's
too many flags.
It's
watering down the market.
I mean, it kind of explains how UPS Kevin got one, though. Aside from his extreme work ethic and kindness, Mitchell met him, confirmed that he might be the nicest person on earth.
He just really enjoys his job. He's the nicest person. He's reached retirement age. He could retire any day now.
He's retirement age? He looks so young.
Clean living, man.
Yeah, I guess.
I'd love the quote you got from him. I've got the total American dream. just awesome. Yeah. The town loves him so much. I mean, the mayor even said, "We love you and we appreciate you. We love you." I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Next item is Lewis County Sheriff's Office announces promotions. The sheriff promoted Captain Rick Van Wyck to Chief of Operations, Sergeant Jeff Gobby to Captain overseeing the Patrol Division, Detective Matt Wallace to Sergeant overseeing the Detective Division, and Support Technician Kelly Van Wyck to Property and Evidence Manager. So, good for them. And we've also got the Centralia Alumni Association awarding Gary Loomis its Distinguished Alumni Award. Gary Loomis is like a fishing magnet,
magnate. Yeah, he basically embraced the use of graphite for rods, and yeah, it sounded pretty cool. I think he also started what's the group called?
CAA, or he's got a hat in the picture.
Coastal Conservation Association.
Yeah, I remember covering that when it first got started. And yeah, Loomis's his G. Loomis fishing stuff is like a pretty big deal.
You don't get much better nicknames than the Godfather of Graphite.
It's a pretty sick nickname.
Listed here as his nickname. So who do we got? Who you choosing out of those?
I got Gary Loomis.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Gary Loomis. I can back that only because Kevin already got it and he's had a flag flown over the Capitol for him.
Yeah, he's doing okay as far as accolades go.
I wonder if we could start a process where we raise and lower flags over the News Dump's office here at the Chronicle.
Well, they're only Gadsden flags.
To the hero of the
They're like photoshopped Gadsden flags.
Okay.
With this, instead of a snake, it's a microphone cord. It's like, don't step on me.
You got to get that drawn up.
Anyway, yeah, we're skipping Facebook comments of the week. What else is in the Thursday edition that we didn't cover?
We'll have some legislative coverage from whatever happens tomorrow at the preview. If any elected official wanders into the coverage area, we'll cover them if they happen to.
Mm-hmm.
And
if they wander
got some light. Got some light crime reporting. Another little prison riot over at Green Hill.
A what?
A prison riot.
The fire rises.
Did you just load it with exclusively Bane quotes?
It doesn't matter who we are.
You did.
What matters is our plan.
Bane is back as our third co-host.
Rebranding. That's all I got. That's all I'm prepared to guarantee for Saturday.
All right. Mitchell, thank you for joining us today. In closing, we're sponsored by Summit Funding and the Roof Doctor and Chehalis Outfitters. Leave a review and rating on Apple Podcast if you want, or drop us a line at chroniclenewsdump@gmail.com.